Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for an all new episode recap of today's Days of Our Lives, June 25th, 2025. So, remember Marlena was on the phone with Roman and she was telling him that she has something serious to tell him. So, she met him at the pub and he was wondering like what's going on. So, he couldn't make it to the reception. He asked if it went well. She said it went well. She said that she needs to talk to him about Johnny. So they go somewhere private to talk. And she tells him that, Rachel told her in confidence that Johnny was the one that possibly shot EJ. So, she sees the look on his face and she can tell that he already knew that. So he said that, he didn't want to really make a lot of noise about it because Johnny, when he confronted Johnny about it, Johnny was kind of elusive on it. He ran out. So he's kind of, he has a lot of questions as to whether he did it or not. So it's like he had bits and pieces and he was telling Marlena how, his gun was missing on the night of EJ shooting, and he was talking to Johnny earlier about the gun and where it was located, and, when he came back out, he realized Johnny went with the gun. And, he went over to the mirror place. He noticed that the gun was in a planter. And when he checked it later at the pub, a bullet was missing. So he's wondering, is Johnny actually telling the truth that night? Was he behind this? So, Marlena is telling Roman, like, what are we gonna do with that information? Rachel is having nightmares, and Roman asked her, did Kristen know? So she said yes, Kristen was the one that told her to be quiet or else something might happen to her grandmother. So they are conflicted as to what to do. Roman is saying, should we turn over our grandson to the police? So she said, not yet, we need to have all the facts. So Roman calls Johnny and said, hey, come over, let's talk, right? So Sarah and Stephanie talk at the hospital, and Sarah tells Stephanie that Xander knows that she's also involved in the forgery, and she's surprised to hear that. She's saying, oh my gosh, who did that? So she said that, she doesn't really know because she confronted Philip about it. Philip said that he did not tell Xander about it. And Stephanie said that she wouldn't have betrayed her like that, or Alex said she knows that she didn't do that because Stephanie and Alex went out their way to protect her and not tell Xander what's going on. So she doesn't believe that they were behind it. So Stephanie's asking her if she believes Philip, and she says not really. I don't even believe that Xander wasn't the one that actually assaulted him that day, right? So Stephanie's thinking maybe, Xander is using leverage, threatening him, that if he goes to the police, he will lose the other half of his fortune and everything. So Sarah, again, is asking Stephanie for a favor to go talk to Philip since they've been close and they have, history. If she can talk to him, maybe he will confide in her, tell her the truth. So she said that she can try, let's see how it goes, right? Because she's saying, because of that person, my marriage is over. And I'm saying, Sarah, take some damn accountability, right? You are the reason why your marriage imploded, because you was not truthful from the beginning. From you heard about what Philip was doing and what Kate was doing, you should have told your husband from the beginning and then deal with it after. Now, if he acted out as you suspected he would have, then you have all grounds to do what you do. But you went ahead and kept it for yourself, like not knowing what would have been the outcome. You didn't have enough trust or faith in your husband, and I can't stand there for this, right? So Sophia and Miss Trask are meeting up again to really see if they can work together. She understands that Tate and his family is not on board, and her mother as well, but she still wants to work with her because she knows of her track record. So Melinda agrees to help her out on this part, and she will do it pro bono because, again, she can personally relate to Sophia's situation, being that she went through it herself, having an unwanted pregnancy. So she wants to help Sophia, and they're going through the paperwork, and she's telling her that, Tate and Sophia have to have a medical history form. So I know that once that should possibly go through, then, it could be a problem later on because word is going around that Tate is not the actual baby daddy. So, Aaron possibly could be it. So, I mean, let's see how this turns out, right? So Sophia leaves to use the bathroom, and then, Brady comes over and she's asking him about his father. She's sorry about it. So he said that, yeah, thanks for that. However, I heard from Tate that you're trying to involve yourself in their baby adoption case. So she said, I'm not trying to involve myself. Sophia came to me and he's like, I don't care who came to who. All I'm telling you is that, I know about your track record and what lengths you'll go to, especially when it comes down to newborn adoption cases, like when you helped Sloan Peterson not too long ago to kidnap my brother and Nicole's baby. So I don't trust you and I want you as far away from my family as possible. So Miss Melinda take that into consideration, and then she spoke to Sophia after, and she said, I can't represent you anymore because of what Tate and his family are saying to me and everything, and I can also help you to find another lawyer who will take it pro bono, right? So Sophia is upset. She really wanted her to represent her, but it is what it is. Like Brady said, stay away, and she's staying away. So earlier, Brady was at Philip's bedside, and he was just happy to see that Philip is looking a lot better than before. And Philip said he's sorry about what happened to his dad, and also he's glad to hear what's happening with Bo and that Bo visited him before he left town. So he's just sorry that he messed up with getting the drug in the first place. And Brady said, don't blame yourself. It is what it is. I'm just glad that Xander wasn't the one behind your assault, and we can move forward. Like losing my father, I've just learned that I don't want to lose another family member, and I'm just glad that you are awake. You woke up from a coma. This is a great sign. And let's hang out, let's go to a baseball game. I think that's what he was trying to say, and Philip is agreeing to it as well. So we finally get to see Johnny at work, and he's going through training. He comes in to see Alex, and he's saying that he's done with training. He wants to really get into the role that he is supposed to be assigned to. And Alex is telling him that, look, like, I don't think it's going to work out with the numbers, how they're looking at the company right now. So he's saying it's tightened the mirror under siege. Is it in trouble? So before he could explain that, Xander comes in, and Xander said him that, look, it's not going to be in no trouble because we're going to work together to make sure that we can get ownership of the hospital. We're going to make sure that, we take it back from EJ. Like, now that I was falsely arrested, I can really make a pitch for the hospital. So he's saying, Alex is saying, you're really confident about it. So I said, yeah, like, it's going to be a potential gold mine when this drug takes off on the market. So I want to definitely put my hat in the ring again and see where it goes. So Alex also tells him that, look, he's also revamping the publishing part, and he's thinking to put Johnny in charge of a marketing position, also help with the publishing since he has experience in directing films and, soap opera and all of that. So Xander is all on board for that as well. And, he likes where it's going. So Johnny leaves for an early lunch break, and he talks to Alex alone, and he says that, I appreciate you being loyal to me and really holding me down throughout all this, and I can fully trust you. So he asks about how Philip is going to be reintegrated. So he said Philip is coming back. We're going to put him on a short list. And I'm saying, Xander, you need to make sure that your brother get a great position, because at the end of the day, you really beat him to a bloody pulp, and he deserves to be back as co-CEO, right? You guys made a pact. You guys are going to work together for cosmetic reasons, but at the same time, like, make it make sense, right? So Stephanie pays Philip a visit on Sarah's behalf, and she's just asking point blank, like, were you lying to Sarah when you said that you didn't tell Xander that she was involved? And also, were you truthful about Xander not being involved in your assault? So he said that, yes, I was telling the truth, I'm sticking to it, right? So she said that, are you sure that you're actually being honest about this, because it's because of your inheritance and you don't want to lose it? So I said, would I really go through all that to work with Xander again because of that? So he's sticking to his story, and that's really that. Stephanie goes back out to Sarah, and she tells Sarah that, look, Philip is sticking to his story, so I'm sorry that it wasn't much help. So she tags her for that, and she said that she has some patience to see, right? So Stephanie ends up seeing the manuscript that was lost for all these weeks, right? She ends up seeing it, and she's like, what in the world is it doing here? So Alex has to explain it to her. So they meet up at the restaurant as planned, and he's asking her how was the reception. He spoke to her mom, and he's she's saying that it's really good. So she said that it's all fine. So he can clearly tell that something's up with Stephanie and her mood. So he's like, what's going on? Wasn't your day good? So she said it was good until I discovered something. So she tells Alex that I saw the manuscript at the hospital, like, care to explain. So he said that what is that. So he's trying to play dumb at first, and then she said, like, let's cut the crap, like you had something to do with this, like explain. So he said that he went behind her back to talk to Kate, and he thinks that it could be a potential revenue maker. Kate actually likes the manuscript and feels like it could be a best time seller. So she was angry at first, but until she hears that it could be a potential money maker, she's like, oh really, right? Because she was saying he went behind her back, she's embarrassed, and he said nobody knows that you're the actual author, not even Kate. And she's like, that's beside the point. You went behind my back, and everybody had a read of it all through the hospital. So I'm just mortified about it. So I'm saying, Stephanie, come on, you did not put your name on it. Nobody knows that it's you except Alex. Hear him out. Like, yes, he went behind your back because you was being a little stubborn, but see where it goes. Like, it could potentially be an income maker for you. So see where it goes. So Xander had a quick meeting with Melinda, and she is saying to him, look, I have some update on your case. And she's saying that, look, you and Sarah just have to co-parent. It's not going to work out where you're going to get full custody, because again, Sarah's an exemplary mother. She's a honest worker. She's a respected doctor. You guys have to suck it up and work it out co-parent for the sake of Victoria. So it's like, you sure you can't use your powers to go underhanded and see what we can dig up on Sarah. So she said, you really want to go through that route? So he's thinking about it. And there was a part where Sarah actually was talking to Justin, and Justin is also telling her the same thing, like, look, like, Xander was exonerated, he's a businessman, he's a great father, you gotta cooperate. So Sarah's like, no, this can't work, like, I can't stand to see the size of him, I don't want that, I want full custody. And I'm saying, these knuckleheads, and I'm saying, I really am a Xander fan, but at the same time, you guys need to co-parent for the sake of Victoria. Do not let personal reasons stand in the way, because at the end of the day, you guys are not unfit parents. That's for fact. Are you guys imperfect persons? Yes. So is a lot of us, right? But at the same time, like, you guys just gotta come together for the sake of this little girl. At the end of the day, like, you guys got to put aside your feelings and stop being immature about it and come together and co-parent. So he did see her in the square, so I guess we're going to see what happens with them on the next episode. But I'm just really sick and tired of the whole thing with them. Oh, every time something else happened personal between them, they're saying, oh, full custody and all of that. First Sarah came with it. Xander was also good on co-parenting. It was Sarah who initiated this thing about, you're not going to do this, we're going to do it my way, supervised visitation. He is not an unfit father, right? He has every right, 50% right, to be with his daughter whenever, right? So anyways, moving forward to Johnny, Marlena, and Romance. So they are in the room, and he's saying what's going on. So they want to talk back about the EJ shooting thing, and he's saying, I already told you what I know, I did not do it. So Romance said, like, cut the crap, like, when I talked to you the last time, you ran out and we didn't get a clear answer. Now your grandmother knows, and we really want to get to the bottom of this, and you need to just really tell us the truth this time. So Johnny is saying that it was a little bit hazy, but what he can remember is that he was so angry at his father for what he did. He took the gun, brought it to the mansion, pointed it at him, and EJ turned around, and EJ saying, what do you think you're doing? So he didn't know what he was doing. He just was angry in his feelings, and EJ persuaded him to give him the gun, and that's when he ran out and went on his way back home. So he doesn't know what happened after that, but Roman is saying, like, a bullet is missing, so they still don't know who is really behind who pulled the trigger. So he's asking Johnny, are you sure you didn't practice with the gun first? So he said, no, I didn't pull the trigger, none at all. So he's just happy that he was able to really fully confess, and it felt like a burden was lifted off. He hugged his grandparents. So he's in the clear, it seems, but we still don't know who it is. Some people are saying Rachel, but I'm just saying I don't picture Rachel doing it. But listen, the plot thickens with this. So that is it, guys. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe to my channel. I will see you guys tomorrow. Comment below your thoughts on today's episode. Let me know your theory on who could be behind the shooting.